or you know?
I know.
Okay, good.
I know.
Yeah, you can use this. Okay. We have these two here if you need extra.
Oh, okay. They're the same color?
They're black, I think.
Okay.
But who knows if they work. I'm
Okay.
going to put them right here.
Okay.
This is my thing. I'll just move it once.
Okay. It's bright from here, but I don't know about from there. I'll ask the expert. I will.
just do my intro now, maybe. Are you ready?
As I'll ever be.
You're going to do amazing. Hello, everyone. It's so good to see you, and I love how everyone is like so expectant. There was like a hush that fell over the room at one point, and then you just kept talking because nothing happened. But we're so glad to continue the series called the Vocation of Faith Series, Accepting God's Call, ... So we had 2 of these in the fall, and we have 3 in this spring program semester, so we hope you'll continue to come back. The series focuses on various ways that God calls us to be more fully human as we accept God's call to work and see beauty, which we talked about in the fall, to dream, which we'll talk about today, to sing, and to plant. Irenaeus, who's the great 2nd century church father that we all like to quote around here, this great line, that the glory of God is the human being fully alive. And especially in times of crisis, it's vital that we connect with the deepest parts of our humanity. I love these words from Toni Morrison, that is how civilizations heal. It's by connecting to our humanity. So in this series, we had 5 parishioners total. We have 3 more who are sharing part of their own call story into one of these practices that I just named, as well as specific insights they've gained through their own experience. They will reflect on how the practice helps them grow closer to God or helps them be the people that God intends us to be for our own good and for the life of the world. And today I'm really excited that we have parishioner Virginia Apperson, who's hiding here behind me. And I'm not going to do much of an introduction of Virginia because she'll, I think, share part of her own story as part of her presentation. But I do think it's pretty cool that we had a little bit of like schedule shifts. And today, as I'm reading the gospel, noting that the theme today is to dream, and the gospel story of that we're also familiar with, but is the wise men coming and bringing Jesus gifts, and then God appears to the wise men in a dream and tells them some very important information that they need to go by a different road to avoid Herod. So it's pretty awesome that that's the gospel passage that we are focusing on now. If you want to know the dates of the ones following this, and these are both, each topic we do 2 Sundays in a row, so please come back next Sunday as well to hear Virginia. And then the dates for the other 2 are in your adult formation booklet, which I hope you all have a copy of. So with no further ado, I'll hand it over to Virginia.
Thank you, Jenny. Did you want to lavalier me?
Oh, I'm going to love it for you, yes. Oh, no. You can start if you would like.
Okay. Well, I'll start by saying I'm really hot and I'm really nervous, so I'm going to lose my vanity and start getting a little more comfortable.
Are you okay?
Yes.
And then this just goes under one.
Okay, that's better. Wait, here.
Go here, like that. Does that seem okay to you? It seems okay to me.
Seem okay to you?
Yes.
Okay. That's what matters. One time I went into a bathroom with one of these on.
I do it all the time.
So, as Jenny said, she's invited me to talk on my call to my vocation. Never thought of it that way. It's an incredible exercise. So, as I go through this today, if any of you feel so moved, I'd encourage you to think about what your call is, because it helped me, who would be quick to say, well, I'm not special, go to, heck yeah, I'm special. And here are the ingredients that helped me become more of me. So Thank you, Jenny. To dream. There are a lot of ways that you can think about dreaming. So I'm curious, first of all, what enticed you to come today, 1st January of 2026, to talk about dream? Is there, what comes to mind when you think about dreaming?
Something better.
Dreaming for something better. Okay. I'm going to try to hold on to some of these, so maybe I can weave them in. What else? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it does. It'll work great. We've so far said to dream for something better.
Something better.
And so we want to try to honor, we want to focus on mind here, and we're going to
Something unthought of.
I learned a while ago that everybody in your dreams is you. So I look at dreams as a way to learn about myself. Yeah. Uh,
every component of the dream, not just a person in the dream, but a component is worth considering. You don't always have to be only, but recently I had spent time with me as a gray rock and trying on what it means to be a rock. I won't get into that. You'll lock me up, but it's, yes, very, very helpful. Yes,
New or expanded possibilities.
new and expanded possibilities. Biggest dreamer in our room.
I have historically thought of the word dream as being a cheap cliche, but I watched The Holdovers last night, and he's got a line where he's talking to somebody who's living a very small, where somebody who's living a very small life is told, "You're scared to dream even half a dream." And I was like, oh, maybe my life is smaller than it needs to be.
So you've been challenged, the gauntlet has been thrown.
I don't know, because otherwise I'm not thinking of fortunes or future or whatever. Hi, Stephen. Okay, sorry, that's it.
Well, Jung would say that one of the chief functions of dreaming is that it compensates for what's going on in your daily life. So I think that's a pretty good way of thinking about it. So it can be a little thing on your mind. It can become like anything on your mind. So I wouldn't change that. Anything else? Yes.
Thank you. I feel like we're talking about two different kinds of dreams. One is the dream we dream when we're asleep at night, over which I always feel like I have no control. And the other is what I imagine in the day that could be a different world. And I'd love some clarification on Jung's approach to that.
found out that at various points, not strangers necessarily, but not a relative, put their hand out and offered assistance. It wasn't like I asked for help. I guess they looked at me and decided this guy needs some help. I don't know, and particularly in my youth, in my 20s. And I have decided that I need to extend my hand out to people that I don't know in a similar vein. And that's the different kind of dream. That's the I have a dream kind of thing, that maybe it's payback or pay forward or however you want to describe it.
Virginia, I think of subconscious thought being made conscious, whether that's by a night dream or a daydream, and then what do you do about it? What do you do with it, if anything? And that can be, for me, part of the mystery. It can be part of paying it forward or dismissing it. And I'm sure you'll help us swim through that soup.
Come back to that, because there's so much, and I'm supposed to be 3 minutes in, and I'm already move on to this from the Bible, and it's going to speak to start the question around. So I was struggling. Jenny asked me to have a biblical passage. My forte, and so I was thinking a dream, Joseph, Pharaoh's dreams, and then a sermon from Sam Candler came into my inbox at the end of last December, and he talked about enunciation to Joseph. This dream just blows my mind. An angel of the Lord appears unto Joseph in a dream, and saying, Joseph, thou son of David, fear not to take unto thee Mary thy wife, for that which is conceived in her is of the Holy Spirit. And she shall bear a son, and you shall call his name Jesus, for he will save his people from their sins. Sitting with this verse for the last couple of weeks. Envious of Joseph. He got such a clear, direct dream. Most dreams don't come in bullet points like this. And feeling a lot of compassion for Joseph. That's a pretty heavy message. And wondering about what was going on with Joseph the night pair. They planned to get married. How old, Simon? How old are Joseph and Mary? They're possibly teens, is what I read. 20 kids. And Mary was a baby. And from what I read, Joseph found out Mary was pregnant. He knew he hadn't had sex with her yet. And so he was puzzling over what's a guy. Apparently he was a good guy. So he was trying to figure out how to do right by her. But maybe thinking, I might have to figure out how to exit this situation. So he was not planning on, he wasn't excited about this prospect, let's just say. Pope Francis also spoke on this passage in 2022. He said, back in Joseph's day, dreams were considered a means by which God revealed himself. The dream symbolizes the spiritual life of each of us. That inner space that each of us is called to cultivate and guard, where God manifests himself and often speaks to us. So Joseph was in a culture that honored dreams. Not only honored them, but believed that it was God's way of talking to him. And so he better listen. We don't really think about dreams that way. I had an opportunity years ago to work with a Native American Indian named Thomas Blue Wolf, and he said that every morning with his grandfather over at the breakfast table, they shared their dreams with each other. It was just part of the culture that he grew up in. So he didn't question dreams. He probably puzzled over them and had to work at them, but he trusted that the dream had something to say to him. And he learned that from his grandfather. So just to put this in perspective, how many of you remember a dream within the last week or month? Wow. How many of you spent some time reflecting on the dream? Wow. How many of you acted on the dream? Okay. So at some point, and probably it'll be more next week, we'll actually go through a dream and unpack it. But the last step in dream work is to do something with the dream, to act on it. And it can be simple. It could be to do a drawing, it could be to call somebody, it can be to create a ritual and say a prayer. But that's part of that dialogue and that way of honoring the dream. Some Jungians describe getting a dream as like getting a letter from a friend. And we all would quickly open our letter and read the letter and then follow up with the correspondence. But I would guess that most of us have a stack of unopened letters at our bedside that we have not tended to, and I'm the guiltiest of that. Okay, so my call story. This, I felt a little self-conscious thinking of my work as a call story. I know I've called my work a vocation many times, but I haven't really, until preparing for today, fleshed out what that means. I operate more from an intuitive place, and so it's more of a gut sense, and now I have to try to think about it. I realized that unlike in Joseph's direct dream, and I may have just screwed something up, so tell me if I just bonked this. My call came in whispers. It came in heartbreaks. And I think most of all in restless energy that kept me moving and looking to the next in my jobs in particular. I think I had 7 jobs in my first 11 years out of college. And I've been in my office now practicing as a Jungian analyst for 32 years, so I think I've landed in the right place. Along the way, there was a budding awareness that I related more to Jungian authors than other psychological theories. So if you go to any flavor of psychotherapy school, you might get a line or a paragraph on Jung. He's not featured a lot in traditional initial training. And Grady Hospital, where I happened to be working at the time, was the hotbed of the Emory Freudian Psychoanalytic Society. So I was starting to develop an interest in Jung and was a closet Jungian. A really important piece from Jenny's guide around the call is that it comes in times of crisis, or it emerges in times of crisis, and that it is there that we connect with our deepest parts of our humanity. I love that line, and if only when I was 20 years old somebody had shared that line with me. Although somebody did, close enough. I was working in the ICU. I was a nurse in New York City right out of college, and I had started to read Scott Peck's Road Less Traveled. And the first line is, "Life is difficult." Nobody had bothered to tell me that before. So I was grateful for him that my struggles, my inner struggles, were legitimate, were part and parcel of life. There really were many crises along the way that challenged me to shape shift vocationally and become truer to myself. And yeah, I'll try to keep my hands to myself. So I have to admit that I resisted the call fiercely. I was raised to be a housewife, to raise kids. I was not supposed to be working. I was not supposed to be a career girl. This was not the path that was set for me. And so I was not a happy camper. But Jung says that every victory for the self because I am going to roam.
Okay, we'll take that for when you room.
Okay.
You can talk to that too.
Okay. So Jung says every victory for the self is a defeat of the ego. So the self is everything around. It includes the conscious, the personal unconscious, the collective unconscious, all of the archetypes. It's our larger, the best of who we are, and includes it all. And this line from Jung suggests that we are all, as we grow and mature and develop and become truer to ourselves, it's a civil war. I mean, we are, and the ego doesn't want to let us go. It's a fight to the finish. In Jungian parlance, the self is the God image within, the archetype of wholeness. Jung understood God as an overpowering presence within our psyches, beckoning us through dreams and intense emotions. So I want to make a pitch for honoring our intense emotions, because we live in a culture that wants to repress, deny, ignore, blame, project, and not stay with and honor the energy that bubbles up inside. Another favorite line of mine from Jung is that, let's see if I get this. The Luciferian virtue of strong affect is that only change happens out of intense affect. And it can be used for good or for ill. It can be very destructive, and we all know what that looks like. But if we're intentional about the strength of the energy inside, then it's energy that can be in service of change and movement and growth, healthy growth. This endeavor Jung called the individuation process, and it is the call. It requires integrating undeveloped parts of ourselves in order to tap into our greater potential. I'm going to skip a lot of stuff. I think I'm going to come to a close with what the role that All Saints played in this whole process for me. Some of you remember Caslin Weathers, just a precious member of this church. She was my supervisor, thank you, at Georgia Mental Health Institute when I was in graduate school at Emory. And a good Episcopalian like me, and I was new to town, and she said, "Come to All Saints." And I did, and I fell in love with the church. And I felt a lot of love back. It's a pretty special place. All Saints started, miraculously, a group called Centerpoint. I know one person in here who knows about Centerpoint. Does anybody else ever? Were you in a Centerpoint group? I don't know why, but there was a group in St. Louis that developed this group called Centerpoint, and it was basically the fundamentals of Jungian psychology. And there were, maybe in other churches too, but there were Episcopal churches all over the country that led this group. And I was in the group with Allison Pritchett and Mary White and Scylla Tomlinson and I couldn't remember, you weren't in that group. And that's where I got impregnated, I would say, if we go with Joseph's story, with these ideas of Carl Jung that really spoke to me and helped me understand the folks that I was working with, kids struggling with addiction, eating disorders, the staff at Grady Hospital. Things made sense to me. It just worked with my brain in a way that a lot of other theoretical frameworks didn't work. And so that's the call really started here. Soon after that group, I was in EFM with Ed Taylor. And Ed loved Joseph Campbell and the power of myth. And I was with Anne and Mary White, and it was such a rich group. We watched week after week the power of myth. So Joseph Campbell believed in the power of myth and metaphor and symbol, and he found throughout the world the connection that we share. It's back to that kind of precognitive, that there can be a Cinderella story in India and one in England, and there's similar motifs. So we're all wrestling with similar kinds of things. We've all got a mother, we've all got a father, and that's where we start. But the archetypal world of the great father and the great mother is infinite. And so we are tasked as we grow and mature to discover more of father and more of mother to raise us. Anybody remember Joseph Campbell's, one of his famous challenges?